All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's call of the Crypto Mondays Collective. We've got, I think, a super interesting featured guest today, Roberto Machado. He's the founder and CEO of SubVisual. And I had the pleasure of meeting Roberto on my last kind of global jag, where I went to Tel Aviv, Porto, and Paris. And actually, while I was in Paris, I mean in Porto, we did Crypto Mondays Porto. It was my 37th Crypto Monday city, and it's put on by Irina, who also runs Crypto Mondays Lisbon, and she's been killing it for years, and she's awesome. And she's now moved to Porto. And when I got there, she arranged a whole bunch of stuff for me, and she said, "You got to go to Braga." Which is like the seventh biggest city in Portugal, about a half-hour train ride away, and meet with Roberto. And so I took the time. Braga was awesome to go to and see a whole nother town that is, special in its own right. I think like the most churches per person of any city in Portugal. And and it was great, meeting Roberto and this was a guy who struck me as he'd been doing the same thing for a long time, gotten really good at it, and it's very central to what I think a lot of people here are doing in terms of building companies in the fintech space. And so looking forward to hearing from him shortly. But just real quick, what do we got? Um, uh, just real quick, I wanted to. So, when I was thinking about, what are the different assets that that we have. We've got the meetups. We had the accelerators. They're kind of on hold now. We're really putting a lot of time into the Monday AI agent. And we're building Dia, which is actually going extremely well. And I think one of the other assets that we have, major assets, is a Monday, Wednesday, Friday call. Which I've always looked at as, an opportunity, to invite people in, who are going to educate us about, whatever part of the ecosystem that they play in. And that's certainly what's going on today. But as hopefully we're finally going to be moving to a TGE at some point. We're also how do we can give value to community members slash token holders. And so I think one of the things that going to try and see even before the TGE is starting these calls with 5 minutes from maybe give three folks from the community a chance to talk about whatever they want to highlight that they're working on or want to talk about, want people to know about, whatever that might be. And I think that's a great way. We did that at Crypto Mondays NYC. Abby started doing it, I think. And it was, at the end of the meetup. And it was, I think, a great value add for the community. And so, starting on the next call, we'll start here. So if anybody wants to say anything, start on the call, send an email, and but my guess is shortly, give a chance to talk in front of the community and figure out even, how to optimize that more and more. I think obviously a big part of being part of the collective is the connectivity with other people in the collective. And now with this AI agent community management tool, hopefully we'll get a lot better at that. And that's really it. So anybody else have before I turn it over to Roberto, anybody else have anything that they want to bring up, mention? Going once? Twice? Okay. Rock and roll. Roberto?
I'm here. Thank you so much for having me, and sorry for the small delay. Living in a small city, you never count for traffic, but sometimes you get it. Yeah, it was a pleasure to meet you, Lou, in Braga. We had a lovely conversation, and like you mentioned, I've been doing for a long time. So I run SubVisual. We've been going for 14 years already, and we by chance or luck, the first time that we worked in a blockchain project was in 2012. We tried to build a betting platform using Bitcoin as the asset to bet. and you were supposed to bet on football games, not the soccer games. So for if you are on America's side, and that project never saw the light of the day because in the end we discovered that if you are doing a betting platform, you still need licenses to do that, and yeah, it
Government
was
wants their cut.
exactly, but was great for us because it was a way to get in touch with the technology. We were one of the first people out of Braga. Most of you probably never heard of Braga before this meeting. Out of Braga, one of the first people using Coinbase's API in the world, and that's really cool. And we ended up in 2014 also working in another project with founders from the Valley, called at the time Bit Reserve, rebranded to Uphold, and from there we kept going, building different products in blockchain. And also at the same time, we were trying to discover what was the business model that we wanted to focus on, moving from being a product studio, building products for others, into more venture studio. So we started.
Oh, hold on a second. Sorry, I can mute. Yeah, there we go. Oh, all right, there we go. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So we moved into this venture studio model where we were also building our own companies, finding founders to build companies with. And in 2017, we ended up creating a company called Utrust, with three other co-founders, where I was also acting as a co-founder. And we built a cryptocurrency payment system that raised 20 million, and we grew that business to process millions and millions of dollars, and working with merchants all around the world, and selling that business in 2021 to MultiverseX, at the time called Elrond Network. During this period, we kind of bootstrapped and built other businesses around here in blockchain and in other places. Also, I started a DeFi fund called SemCap, and an early stage crypto fund called Lightshift Capital, that is run by two friends, David and Simão. So fast forward to today, we from SubVisual, we have 47 companies that we invest or helped create. We have built around 200 products, and we have a full-fledged team that continues to build. My most recent project, it's called Quill Finance, and it's a native stablecoin for the Scroll ecosystem. A ZK rollup in the
Sorry, I'm sorry. For what ecosystem?
Scroll network.
Oh, yeah.
It's a layer 2. It's a ZK rollup. And yeah, we have other things that we are building. Currently working with Carpat Key, with recently did a project with Lido. So doing a bunch of different things, and super excited about the future. Like I mentioned to Lou in Braga, it's weird because it has been a long time, and sometimes, or a lot of times, I was the only guy in the room that was preaching this religion. And right now, I'm more excited than ever because SubVisual always focus on two areas, like within the financial technologies ecosystems or space, we focus on traditional fintechs and built a lot of fintechs more on the traditional side, and this blockchain world where was more crazy, degen, cyberpunk, and I think it's the first time the last year that these two worlds are colliding a lot. And I'm getting a lot of people from the traditional finance sector that I never imagined that was going to jump, or I kind of believe that they wanted to jump. Otherwise, I will not be building this space for such a long time. But finally, they are jumping into the blockchain space, especially with stablecoins and other things that they are finding very interesting to use in their business models. And has been like a very good time to continue building on this space, and I'm more excited than ever. And over to you, Lou. I don't know if now we
Sure,
open the
no,
floor or
that's great. So generally, so thanks for that. So generally, I start off with a few questions, open it
yeah.
up to the audience, to the community members, who are on the call. It's a pretty global audience. So first, so because you say you were doing this 14 years, so how old are you now?
I'm 36.
Okay, right. So you started doing this at 22.
Yeah.
Um,
I
right.
was getting my company started while I was still in college, finishing my master's degree. I was when I first got in touch with Bitcoin because I did my master's degree in cryptography and security systems. So it was a topic being talked around there, and it was nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it should have been. Um, and so so you're doing a lot of things. You mentioned the stablecoin project. That's an area that I've been super interested. You want to talk about that a little bit and kind of what kind of innovation you're trying to kind of bring to that?
Yeah, so that came from last year. The Scroll network was doing very well. They bootstrapped their TVL to 1.2 billion. And I'm very bullish on ZK in general as a technology, and I think that it will play an important role.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think it's a
it's
foundational. I call it a foundational layer of
exactly. Yeah. I think
Web3.
it's still there's a lot of to be explored there.
It's
So I
early.
was looking very closely to Scroll. And at the same time, there was another project that I know for a lot of years, which is Liquity, which is a stablecoin in Ethereum
Sure.
ecosystem. A lot of people know it. And they were
Yeah, I'm
launching
sorry.
the
What's the name of the
V2.
guy who started it? I did 26 episodes of Stablecoins Are Killing It in 2020, and he was I had him on one of the shows.
It's Robert.
Yeah.
Robert Lauku. I
Yeah,
think I'm
I've
pronouncing
had
it.
him at a guest subsequently at the
Yeah.
collective to keep
Yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah.
He's
Great
yeah,
guy. Great guy. Very, very smart. And I know him for a long time, since the early days of the V1.
yeah.
So they were releasing the V2 and they introduced a concept that I think it's fascinating and very interesting for other projects, which is friendly forks. So it is that the idea is that you can fork it, you can fork Liquidity V2, but you need to get a license to do it and you need to play by certain rules. And the reason why they did that is because on the V1, they had like 27 forks. Some of them went well, very well, and accrued zero value to the V1. So if you were like holding the token from Liquidity, you got nothing from that. And more importantly, there were others that were not like good players. So they fork it and did some things that were a bit shady, and it kind of brought like bad reputation for Liquidity V1. So they wanted to have a little bit more control on that, and they introduced this concept of friendly forks, where you need to get the license, you do the fork on a certain ecosystem, you can use the innovation, but you still need to accrue some value back to the Liquidity ecosystem. And I think that's very interesting, and that's exactly what we did with Quill Finance. So we forked Liquidity V2 to the Scroll ecosystem.
You
It's
got a
a
license.
we got the license. Basically, you pay and they give you the
Yes.
money back when you release the product. So it's basically uh, you pay to play, but you get the money
Well,
back.
that's interesting.
Yeah,
I like
it's
that.
not yeah, it's
Yeah.
not about getting the license and getting the money from the license. It's about controlling in a way what people do with your technology that you developed. And even though I'm not a big fan of these type of things, I think it's an interesting model to see how that will play out in the long term.
Sure. I mean, I think if I were describing it, I would call it and then you need community approval.
Exactly. It's
That
another way to
that's a
put it.
much better word than license. Licensing sounds like
Exactly.
you've got the government involved.
Exactly. That's a very good way to put it, for sure. And so the Quill Finance product is basically a Liquidity V2 fork with a few changes. It brings like the innovation from the Liquidity V2, which is multi-collateral. It's an over-collateralized protocol, so lending protocol. So you can mint a stablecoin by collateralizing Ethereum or Scroll tokens. and it's native to that ecosystem, which it's liking right now. And that's also something that the Scroll Foundation was very interested in, because they didn't have like a native stablecoin within their ecosystem. And if you want to trap liquidity, and if you want to leverage liquidity within an ecosystem, having a CDP that works very well, it's super important.
Yeah,
And
I actually invested in a company called Stably. I probably mentioned it. Forget.
I think so. Yeah.
So
So yeah, we
stablecoin
are
as a service. Yeah.
very excited about it. We are going to deploy on May 7, and we already have a few protocols in the Scroll ecosystem that are integrating the stablecoin. So excited about
Must be
that.
excited about you coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're right. I mean, without a stable coin, a native stable coin, it's hard to develop any, yeah, anything. It's hard to scale anything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, and so, what are you seeing? What are you excited about in terms of, the L1s? Do you have an opinion on kind of what's going on in the Ethereum ecosystem and all of the, navel gazing going on?
Yeah. My opinion is that it's an opinion coming from someone that is highly exposed to the Ethereum ecosystem. Not an Ethereum maxi. I stopped being a maxi. I told you this. I stopped
Yeah.
being a maxi in 2016, 17, when I was for a while a Bitcoin maxi. And then no, this is stupid. I'll never be a maxi again. I will just focus on what is the best tool for the job. So I'm not an Ethereum maxi, but I'm highly exposed to it, and most of the products that we have built in the last years has been in the Ethereum ecosystem. And what I think is that the Ethereum ecosystem, and it's not me saying, I think everyone has been speaking about this, as like a very it's ideologically focused on being community driven, kind of a kumbaya where let's make sure that we all move forward and we all have the best intentions. And we all know that even though that's very beautiful to imagine, sometimes if you have a more pragmatic and business oriented approach, you can move faster. And I think that's what
AKA less decentralized.
exactly. So I think it's a matter of deciding what is the poison that you want to swallow, and where you want to focus. I still believe that Ethereum is the ecosystem to build, and it's the place where most of the innovators are playing around. But it's true that right now there are a lot of things on the side, like in the Solana ecosystem and other ecosystems, that are doing amazing things. And as a founder, and I've been saying this to some of the founders that we have been working, and even today I was talking with a founder that we invest that is building tokenized gold in Solana. And yeah, why not building on Solana? That makes sense. So why not? And I think that what we need on the Ethereum ecosystem is that we need to focus on pushing the ecosystem forward, on being more pragmatic. And I think the recent changes to the foundation and stuff like that maybe can have like a more directive approach, and just try to align the community without losing the decentralization, to be faster moving forward. And let's see how that plays out. But I'm still highly bullish on Ethereum, and not concerned at all with the future.
Yeah, no, I totally, it's part of why it was so enjoyable having lunch with you. I think we generally agreed on things.
Yeah,
I very much feel the same way. Um, in terms of, it is right. There's a trade-off between the ethos, and decentralization and empowering the community and speed, right?
yeah,
And, I say, I actually think balance is the most important word in the English language. And I don't think about where I want to be in balance. I think about where I want to be out of balance, because
yeah,
otherwise you're out of balance randomly to one side or the other. And I think personally, I think, for me, I'd rather be out of balance on the ethos decentralization side.
Yeah.
In that, I think in the long run, we like we're riding the ship now, I think, right? I think we got too far over.
Yeah.
And so I think we can right the ship. But, I still think we're winning, I think, the hearts and minds of many of, I think, the smartest, people in the world,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
generally younger
And
people.
I'd like to echo that Ethereum's
Yeah.
not going anywhere. No one's getting rid of mainnet anytime soon.
But yeah, but also, I wrote a piece last year titled it's a Degen World and Solana's King of the Degens.
Yeah, it's a large part of the casino choose to play on Solana, and I think that's amazing. I think it's cool. Like
Great.
people
Yep.
last year for Solana was crazy. In the sense that like everything that was degen, like we are saying, was playing there. And if you're building something a little bit more edgy, more focused on the degen side, it should be like the obvious place to deploy. And while that was true, at the same time, there was a lot of innovation in DeFi and other things that was being built on Ethereum that not a lot of people was paying attention. And right now, if you look at the recent products that were like getting more traction in the Ethereum ecosystem and layer twos that are growing a lot, it I think it's amassing a lot of value, and the traditional finance sector and the money that is moving from that side to blockchain, it's mainly on the Ethereum layer
Yeah,
twos and Ethereum
exactly.
mainnet.
Exactly. One of the weird things, yeah, having been, worked on Wall Street, but it wasn't until, I ran my first company, which, experienced the bubble and the crash of the internet was, I believe the market both at the top and at the bottom, both tragic mistakes. And when in fact, now I look at it, there's just, I have a word for the market swinging back and forth. I call that capitalism. That's just what markets do. And there's actually no signal to it. It's like the sun going
Yeah,
up and down. And the fact that the price of Ethereum has gone down, people say, what's your view on Ethereum? I go, my view hasn't changed.
yeah,
Price has gone down, but that's, price goes down for up and down for lots of reasons. In the long run, it's like playing a hole, 18 holes of golf, right? You can get unlucky bounces, but over 18 holes, it all evens out. And in the long run, the price ends up where it should end up.
yeah, yeah. Totally agree with that. I don't. Yeah, if you are focusing on building, uh, you you should focus on where developers are creating value, where liquidity is moving, and um, I think Ethereum hasn't lost that, and Ethereum price being down. I don't know the answer to that, but in a way, it should be like just a swinging, and it should go back. There were moments in history where also Ethereum lagged a lot compared to other assets. Maybe we are seeing that. Maybe it's the layer twos being too extractive at the moment, and something needs to change there. Like just a switch there where some of the value was accruing more to the mainnet will make a lot of difference. So um, in the
Yeah,
end,
I think there
let's
can
see.
be, yeah, I think there are lots of knobs that they can turn. And I think I don't even think, yeah, I think in the long run that and by the way, both of them are going to be successful, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think uh Solana is definitely carving out, a space of its own. And my guess is, other people will as well.
yeah.
Anyway, so if anybody has a question, raise your hand or shout out. So John, any other as you're driving along? Any other thoughts to share? Sarson, you're on mute if you're trying to talk.
Hi, Robert. Just sorry, I didn't raise the
Oh,
hand.
hey, George.
Quick, hi, quick question. Will you be in SIM conference in Porto next month?
I will. I will.
Yeah, maybe you can meet there, speak a
Yeah,
little
for
bit.
sure.
I'll make a contact on LinkedIn or something like that. Okay?
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna drop my Telegram here in the chat.
Yeah,
I
perfect.
don't look at LinkedIn a lot, so maybe it's easier.
Yeah, this faster this way. Okay, great.
Looking
I'll be
forward
glad
to
to
meet
meet you
you.
there.
I'll be also
Yeah.
at Coda. There is an event called Coda in Porto,
Yeah.
which is like 2 days before Sim conference. I'll be speaking there. So if you are around, also
Okay. I'm
uh,
in Madeira Island, so I'll be
okay.
arriving on the 7th.
Okay,
Uh,
cool.
so we'll speak in Telegram.
Yes.
Nice. Looking forward.
Cool. Anybody else want to
Yes, Lou,
chime
I have a
in?
question.
Hey,
Thank you.
Robin.
Great. It was lovely to hear from you. And Roberto, your Utrust was amazing. I can't remember that crazy YouTube guy that used to support you a lot. I think he's
We
from
had a bunch.
Sweden or somewhere around there. But anyway, I used to follow him, and yeah, it was.
Oh, it was the guy that was always mentioned that meme, the respect the pump. Is
That's
that the
it.
one?
That's the guy. Yeah, yeah.
I'm forgetting the name. Ah,
Yeah, me
fuck.
too. But I've been in the online payments business for the last 20 years, and we had a payment gateway. We built one, and then we sold it, and we built another one now. And I'm trying to. I bought Bitcoin the checkout, and trying to find a way to, to do something blockchain AI related with it, because at the moment it's mobile money and cards. I was really curious how you managed to get so much traction for Utrust. I mean, what kind of merchants were using that payment system, and
Yep.
why were they using it, and how did you get such growth so fast? That's my
Yeah, it
first
was
question.
was really really hard in the beginning. Funny story. The first merchant that we had was a football club called Benfica. I don't know if you follow football at all, but it's like the biggest club in Portugal. And I was the one closing that deal, and it was crazy because they were the first club in the world to accept crypto payments in everything that they sold online. So you could buy tickets, merchandise, everything, and they were willing to integrate with us because they were very risky and they wanted to also get the exposure of being edgy.
With it, yeah,
So
yeah.
we launched with them, and very quickly we realized that no one was going to pay with crypto for normal things. And the only thing that we were getting traction was on luxury goods.
Mm, mm.
Um, and this was mainly travel, uh, watches, cars, and stuff like that. And there was a merchant that we had in 2019 that really picked up. It was called Alternative Airlines. And for a while, they were like by far our largest merchant until COVID.
Really?
And we were trying to double down on airlines, but then COVID happened. And where we grew a lot was basically from 2020 to 2021, mid 2021, you had like this huge crypto boom. So people were making a lot of money
Yeah.
with crypto, and they didn't know how to spend it. And of course, as degens that we are, you spend it on stupid things like watches and probably stuff that you regret a few years later. But we got a lot of traction with that. And there was another aspect which was houses. So we started in emerging markets where it was really hard to all assets that or old fiat that were losing a lot of value with the volatility. People started paying for houses with crypto, with Bitcoin and other stuff, and or it was like Bitcoin whales that wanted to move some of their wealth into real estate. So for a long time, we also sold a lot of houses, or we processed payments for a lot of houses. So it was mainly that. After we sold the company, the strategy changed a lot, and they started getting exposure because they also merged with another product that also processed fiat. So there was a lot of more normal stuff, I'd say, and other type of merchants accepting. And right now it's a break-even company, and they are doing very well. But for that period where we grew a lot in terms of processed volume, it was mainly luxury goods.
Got it. Got it. So the gambling guys didn't jump onto wasn't
We tried to avoid gambling.
Okay.
We got a license in Estonia and also a license in Portugal. All of that was sold, and because of that, we tried to avoid gambling and porn, even though we got a lot of requests to process both. And also, we also did
Shocker.
some. Sorry.
I said shocker.
And Sanya, which started with us coming from PayPal as VP of partnerships, she moved into the role of CEO after a while, and she was also not a fan of gambling and porn. And we actually had those conversations as founders, like it's more a philosophical thing, like you want to do it, you don't want to do it, because there was nothing illegal about it. In the sense you could get problems with the regulator, but if you do everything by the book, it's not illegal to do it. In the end, it's more like an ethical thing. You want to do it, you don't want to do it. And also you lose things. If you start working on that side, there are also other potential merchants that maybe don't want to work with you if you do that kind of business. So we end up choosing to not do gambling or porn as a company.
Thank you. And then my next question is like on because we seem to have more demand for cross-border money movement than for as a payment gateway. So
yeah,
we use third parties for that at the moment, depending on the corridors. But where do you see that going in terms of the cross-border movements, the multinational merchants? Because if you think about the e-commerce industry, it's actually non-jurisdictional. I mean, Amazon doesn't really care, where your consumer is there, and particularly digital downloads, it's cross-border. So I'm just curious as to where you see, if you still have a view of the industry, where you see this crypto becoming so critical in terms of online payments and cross-border movements.
I think that's where I'm more bullish right now. Like every business that has a multi national or regional aspect to it should be considering especially stable coins now to operate. The efficiency of moving money, the aspect of you even potentially making money along the way by holding stable coins. I think it's just an obvious play. The on-ramp.
What about them issuing their own?
Sorry?
What about them issuing their own stable coins?
I think it's a possibility. I have companies in my portfolio right now, and exactly what I was mentioning, that they never operated on crypto side. They never imagined having to handle crypto in their business because they do all sorts of things that has nothing to do with crypto. But right now they are operating in Brazil, in Portugal, in Spain, in Italy, and just the fact that they need to move money around makes sense for them to consider moving all of the rails to stablecoins. And we are having those discussions, and potentially they can either use a stablecoin or they could build their own. But even I think a simpler step is using one of the players that already exist on the market, like Parabol, that helps you issue your own stablecoin. They basically give you the framework to do your own stablecoin, and they handle everything with the backing. They handle all the backing with fiat and stuff like that, and you can even choose the flavor of risk that you want to play there. So I think that's an obvious play. I'm also very bullish on businesses that are trying to fix the FX risks that you have everywhere, especially in the markets where there is more volatility. And yeah, I think that's the Trojan horse for blockchain. Right now, it's what I believe. Like the Trojan horse for blockchain, it's cross-border issues that exist right now in the traditional sector, and people will start looking to blockchain to solve all of that. It will be obvious. And when all of that is in blockchain, it will also start being obvious. And with everything becoming more cheaper, it will be obvious to just use Rails, crypto Rails for everything.
Got it. Thank you so much. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I was just going to
Thank
say
you.
hard to argue with that.
Mhm.
You know, one of the other things that you'd mentioned was Lightshift Capital,
Mhm.
you know, which is a VC that I think we discussed, familiar with.
Yeah.
You want to talk about them a little bit? And you know, it's yeah, it's obviously they're an interesting group of guys.
For sure. I'm super proud of being a third founding partner of that fund that is only playing like an advisor role on the day to day. David and Simão are the managing partners and doing all the hard work. But their execution has been stellar. Like they started in 2022. I'm one of the major LPs in the fund, and what they do and what they bring different to the table is that they also have an engineering team that they allocate to the projects where they invest to do contributions and to help solve issues, help design architectures, really pushing the project forward. And that strategy has been instrumental to get better deals, to get things off the ground. And right now they have a very interesting portfolio for the next years. And another thing that Lightshift does that I think is playing very well is that they look at the market, they look at everything that they see on the early stage spectrum, and they also look at the issues that exist out there, the problems that are unsolved, and that anyone is solving the way that they see that should be solved. And they do what they call originations, which is they do deep dives on that problem, they try to identify how to solve it, and they go to the market trying to find the best founders in the world to build those companies, and they write the first check. And there are a few companies that they have already going with that model, and I'm really bullish on all of those companies because they are really doing transformational stuff and trying to change the way that real estate operates or the way that Deepin does allocation of tokens to decentralize the networks and other stuff that they are cooking. So really proud of the guys, and they still have a few millions to deploy from the first fund, but already discussing with potential partners for a second fund, and I'm very bullish on what will follow.
And are they still doing right? Then they do ETH Lisbon.
Yes, so ETH Lisbon is actually in a couple of weeks. It's from
Yeah.
the 9th of May to the 11th of May. I'll be there as well. So if any of you is around Lisbon, let me know. And yeah, and super excited for that one. Normally it's a small event compared to other It's Something events, but it's something that I also love about it because being small, it's easier to connect with people. It's easier to talk with the builders there. So usually it's close to home. So but it's always an event that I like a lot.
And just Lisbon's got it. Yeah, obviously a great community.
Of course, yeah. It's another. I never left Portugal, so most of my friends went to work outside or started companies outside of Portugal, and a lot of them are coming back. And another aspect is that a lot of amazing people moved to Portugal in the space that I work. So you have amazing VCs living right here in Porto, founders, the guys from Doro Labs that built Pith and other stuff in Lisbon, in Ericeira. There is amazing people all
Dara,
around.
the Algarve.
Yeah, Algarve. A couple weeks ago, I met a guy that is building a very interesting product in Solana that is Russian, lived in London for a few years, moved to Lisbon, didn't like Lisbon, moved to Braga. So it's
That's funny.
really it's funny, but it's great for someone that I didn't laugh because I also love living here, but also I'm attached to the city because my partner has a business, a local business, so it's not easy to work from anywhere. But it's great. It's great that people now are around me.
No, it's an incredible, and I fell in love with Lisbon the first time I went for Solana Breakpoint in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Praveen?
Hey, yeah, I was trying not to ask, but I gotta ask, can you give us a tour of your Star Wars?
For
I mean,
sure.
I host the Miami Science Fiction Film Festival, so I can't help myself.
My pleasure. Where is my camera? Just to make sure that I'm pointing to the right place.
Yeah, man, your camera is interesting. It keeps like changing your framing. Is it like
Yeah,
an AI
it is,
thing?
but I don't like that. And I know that it's like a setting on Zoom. But because right now I wanted to show like the full picture, but it not be easy because I have a bunch of stuff up there, but it will be always following my head. I don't know how to turn that off.
Are they too delicate to pick up and put in front of the camera?
Oh, they are. Some of them are huge. Like I probably you cannot notice, but these ones are really big. And this one definitely I cannot move. So I have a Star Destroyer, a Millennium Falcon, the Tumbler from Dark Knight 2, all of the heads, and a land speeder, and across the house I have the Sauron Tower from Lord of the Rings. I have a Spider-Man frame in my son's room. I have a Bowser from Super Mario, and a bunch of other things, like smaller ones.
That's amazing. Cool. Thank you.
It's an
What's up, Praveen?
expensive hobby.
Praveen, what was the film festival you said that you...
Oh yeah, I teach the virtual production track for the Miami Sci-Fi Science Fiction Film Festival, Miami Sci-Fi. So, we get a lot of fan films, like Star Wars fan films, Star Trek foreign films, and independent. We get like
Amazing.
people from ILM, but like below the line, like the animators and such. We don't get like Harrison Ford, but we get a lot of like sci-fi filmmakers from China and India.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of interesting. Cool. Yeah, there's big sci-fi's taking over.
It's a thing. Cool. Well, thanks, Praveen. Anybody else? Chance, once?
Yeah, thanks, Lou.
Hey, Albert.
Thanks, Roberto, for sharing your venture building model. Normally, how does the fund share the tokens or equity with those teams that they organize?
So on our side, on SubVisual, what we do is like when we partner with founders, we try to analyze it as a normal investment, and even that sometimes we put in man hours. We are putting like a team working there. We always try to see that as it is the amount that we are investing, and we align on a valuation to make it fair for the founders. And if it is an equity deal, we do it in equity. If it is a token deal, we do it in tokens. For example, if we are starting a project off the ground, I can give you the example of Utrust. Actually, Utrust is a very funny story because we started with, so we were 4 co-founders, SubVisual was one of them. We started with, we basically allocated a large team, built everything until the 0 to 1, and we got 20% of the equity. And by
which company was this?
Utrust was like cryptocurrency payment system that we did 2017. And my co-founders, by the time that so 3 co-founders had most of the equity, we had 20%, and actually mid of the first year, they sit down with me and said, this is not fair. You should have the same as we have. And we actually got more equity after the initial deal, which was really a really cool story. But normally we try to make it fair for the founders, and being equity or tokens, it's the same thing. You just look at the amount of effort that we are allocating to the project, you put in a valuation and you execute. And also we are exposed to the normal terms that any other founder typically has, which is if for some reason we end up not allocating as much effort or resources, we don't vest as many tokens or equity, or if we ended up needing to invest more, it's like a follow-on. You take more equity or more tokens, normally at a different valuation. So it's it was not easy to get here, in the sense was not how we started doing like 12 years ago. And honestly, we had to learn a lot. And in the beginning, it was a bit more messy. But right now, it's actually very simple. And another aspect is that in the beginning was a model hard to sell. And a lot of times we ended up working with first-time founders. The people that we work now, normally it's people that already built 2 or 3 companies before, and they know that working with a model like ours can just reduce risk and make things move faster. And it's much easier to do everything and to just align on a deal and close it.
And probably on average, much easier for you to work with a second or third time founder.
Definitely. Definitely. It's different. There is a lot of coaching sometimes. And of course, it's when we still work with first-time founders, I don't like this, but sometimes there is already like a mentor-mentee kind of a relationship, because they know that I built a bunch of things and have a bunch of experience. In a way, it's good because they listen more and it's easier to move things forward. In another ways, it's sometimes you also want to have like that one-to-one relationship and not have like the paternalistic side coming into play, because you want to have like an open discussion. And even that you have more experience, sometimes you are not right. It's the young
also,
guy that is starting.
I always say, as the VC investing in companies, one of the things that I was most surprised at when I first started going to like board meetings, VC invested companies, was how many VCs thought that they were actually smarter about how to run the company than the people running the company.
Yeah.
And if I ever thought I was smarter about the company, people running the company, I'd wipe my hands of it. I don't want to be
Exactly.
right. I mean, they've got to be smarter about it and driving it forward. It's nice to be heard and listened to, but just as a VC, I've found that most people running companies don't have a lot of time to spend listening to the VC.
Yeah, and most of the time they shouldn't.
Yes. Well, particularly too, I joke, people would ask me as a VC, like common question, well, why you? But the hot companies, right? Why you? Well, I would say, look, I can tell lots of reasons why me, but I'll give you one clue. At least take money from a VC who has actually ran a company.
Yeah.
Because, sure, guys who haven't run a company, they might have good advice, but it's like going to a sex therapist that's a virgin,
Yeah, no doubt. That's sound advice, especially for the first round, right? The VCs who have actually done a startup before are definitely a lot more well equipped.
And a lot more insightful. I think also a lot more appreciative of how fucking hard it is.
Right.
Yeah. I
have a follow-up question. I don't expect an answer because it's a very new topic, but I'm guessing since you're innovating at the bleeding edge of technology, what do you think AI and smart contracts like what are some innovation directions if you look at that intersection?
I've been looking a lot into that. Like I was pragmatic enough to not jump into the AI wagon like in 2022, 23, where like it seemed like a lot of blockchain experts in the next day were AI experts. And I was like, nah, blockchain is hard enough for me to be an expert in another thing. But I kept educating myself, and I kept, most of all, I have like a fair amount of friends that are building an AI that I pay a lot of attention. Like I try to talk with them a lot of times and understand what they are seeing. And it's curious for a lot of them, blockchain it's a non thing. They don't care about it. They don't understand how it will be useful in the future. And I try to counter that, but sometimes they have strong opinions about it. But I definitely think that more and more what we are seeing is that AI is going to change everything. There is not a thing that is digital that will not be influenced by AI in the future. And I think that if everything is more digital and everything is more manipulated by AI, blockchain is the way that you keep things within the tracks, and you make sure that if there is money to be moved, if there is rules to be applied, it's through an immutable chain that makes sure that that happens that way. So my take is that, go ahead, Luke.
No, I was just saying both, like on both data coming in and the data going out on both sides.
Exactly.
Need it.
Exactly. So my main or worldview, let's say, is that with the exponentiation or the surging of more and more content, more AI stuff, it will be necessary to integrate it with a fast rails with money that you can trust, that will behave that the way that blockchain behaves. So I think there is a lot of things already being built out there. I think it's going to move so fast that most of the things that were started a year ago will not be relevant in a few months, a year, because it's going to change so fast. And I'm very curious about the things that will start showing up and how things are going to evolve. In the future, I don't know if AI is going to build products, if it's going to build smart contracts, if it's going to just be run on smart contracts. I'm not sure, but I think there is a large probability that it will be highly integrated with smart contracts and blockchain. I hope that I touched the part that you wanted.
No,
Yeah.
it's certainly a very exciting and growing sector, right? That intersection. Thank you for your perspective.
Yeah.
And
No problem.
why don't you tell Roberto just real quick what you do?
So we run the Bitcoin AI Startup Lab. So we help idea stage founders build a foundation that's ready for growth and first round of investment, like a strategic pre-seed round.
Mm-hmm.
You've
Very
done
cool.
6 cohorts.
Yeah, we've done 6 cohorts. We're launching cohort 7 on Monday. It's the first cohort where we have more founders with the AI background than blockchain, but I would say a third to 40% have both. So I think it's going to be a very interesting cohort as Bitcoin and AI mixed together.
Very cool.
Now I use Bitcoin loosely. Like they can definitely, like, you know, to your point, if there's like a more suitable chain or technology to solve the customer problem, then they should go for that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'll check it out, and
Yeah,
I'll see if it makes sense
drop
for
the,
some of the companies that we are connected or
yeah.
uh,
I'll drop how about I drop some the website here, and then I'll also add you on Telegram.
yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. And by the way, guys, this I'm talking right now, I'd like to, if anyone's going to Bitcoin Vegas, we rented the David Copperfield Mansion, and it's for investors and founders and innovators. So if anyone's there, take a look at the invitation and link. There's a VIP code so you guys can get in for free. Spaces are limited.
Look at all the alpha.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
Albert,
got
can
some
we
pretty
share
big.
that with the
Yes.
Crypto Mondays Vegas group? Or is it
Yeah.
just
Excuse me?
for this Zoom
Yeah.
chat?
Right. So, Albert Praveen runs as one of the two guys running now, Crypto Mondays Vegas.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So you guys
Yeah.
should definitely connect.
Yeah, let's definitely connect. My Telegram is I love Bitcoin, but note that I am not like a Bitcoin maxi. I'm more like a innovation maxi, but I do love Bitcoin though.
Yeah, it's
Me
cool.
That's my
too.
Telegram.
I didn't talk a lot
BTC_Albert.
about Bitcoin, but
Yeah,
still
you're better off just saying you love it and leaving it at that so you don't get attacked by maxis.
Yeah, exactly. There's
Yeah.
there's a lot of exciting stuff coming online, right? Like
yeah.
BitTensor is sort of like the the Bitcoin for AI. Yeah.
Yeah.
To hear
Well,
Barry
what do you
Silbert
guys think
say
about
it.
BitTensor? Yeah, like what's your take on that, Roberto?
I don't have a formed opinion, to be honest. I think there is some interesting stuff there, but I'm also very skeptical of a lot of claims, a lot of the claims. So again, I think this is a space that is still very up for grabs in terms of innovation. And BitTensor got to a level that I'm not sure if the value makes sense, but I don't know enough to make this claim very strongly. I'll have to do a lot more research to be strong about this opinion. But definitely, I don't think that the value makes sense from what I see.
Thank you for your opinion.
Okay, well, this has been great. Reached top of the hour. Roberto, awesome, great questions.
Thank you so
from
much.
the community.
It was a pleasure. Thank you
Thanks
so
again.
much. Have a great time.
Very cool. Thank you.
Bye-bye.